Hi, it's Beverly Cole. I'm so glad you're back. Welcome to my studio. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to talk about magazines in art. When I moved to Florida with George, he had had a heart attack in his 40s and wanted to live in Florida to play golf all year. But back to that in a minute. Let's talk about the types of magazines we have to work with. Of course, there are magazines that are aimed at artists and makers, creators, and we expect to be inspired by these magazines. Then there are the other magazines that are out there that perhaps aren't made specifically for art, but can be used in a variety of ways in your artwork. And as a lover of paper, like many of you, my friends, I save all kinds, and so magazine papers are important to me, just as they may be to you. This is the magazine that I'll be using mostly in this video. But first I want to show you a collage where if you look around this collage you can see the magazine papers. In a simple collage, perhaps it'll become a painting of roses in my kitchen. Here in the bottom left corner you can see a young woman, and she is from a flyer from the grocery store. Now back to George and his golf. Although I never did become an avid golfer, not even a new golfer, I did find inspiration in the golf magazines from the beautiful landscapes. So you can see that magazines can be used as part of your medium, but also as inspiration for any medium or work of art. So we're going to work on this today, a collage that I'm not done with, to show you how to use magazines in your art. Collage is one of my favorite ways to use magazines, and I hope to show you other ways to use magazines in future videos, so be sure to visit the channel often. Using gesso, white gesso, we blend in the edges of magazine cutouts. Blending in the edges helps to bring all of the layers together, creating a somewhat solid background that we can build on. Pushes some things to the background, brings other things forward. With the gesso, you are able to decide what you want to keep and what you want to push away. And as the work continues, you may find that your thoughts go in a different direction. The design, as you work it through your mind, most likely will change, and that's one of the wonderful things about collage. It's an evolution in thought and process. When collages are created, usually they will have some sort of a theme. Sometimes the theme will come as you work. It's an enjoyable process. The theme of this one seems to be creativity, considering the fact that the magazine was full of pictures of art and creativity. Can you feel the energy in that woman as she works with that smile and even her hair? Words that I cut out of magazines will be saved in envelopes for future work. Envelopes that I keep in different colors and different types of paper. The envelope for these is called pictures that are not scrapbook paper. These are pictures of creative people. I'm sure you recognize many of them. Another thing that can be added are dimensional items made out of other materials, and here these are aluminum can gears. I'm going to color these with alcohol ink, and I've done a video in the past called DIY Flowers and More, done with aluminum cans and alcohol ink, and I'll put the link below for you. And this collage was done using those as well, and you can see the color of the alcohol ink in my collage here. So we're going to add those after they are colored. Up in the corner there are still things that perhaps will end up on my collage, more words cut out of magazine. see if you can see where I add any of those as we work. So gears in the mind working. Can layer them to look like they're working with each other, or you can just use them as different elements. And again, in movement, more will be added so that they're not just in one spot. Here's some distress paints. These are distress paints, and I believe they're still being sold, and I think you can even get them in distress oxide. I have a few colors because I got them on special and just grabbed the colors available. So here, this one is called Fired Brick. And because they're distressed, they're not so brilliant and sort of work into the whole idea of the thoughts and mood of my piece, I think. Anyway, the red is Fired Brick, and because these are acrylic base, they're water, you can mix them with water while they're wet, and then they dry permanently. One of the things important in this piece is to keep the face brilliant and not lose it. It is the focal point. This one is called Peeled Paint. So if you are a fan of Tim Holtz, these sound familiar to you indeed. And all of his products seem to have the same names. I will also be using later on here some of the distress crayons. Using these paints to blend and add life to the collage. Keeping the face clean. Baby wipes do come in handy. I didn't have any, so I just use a damp cloth. Now, after the green, I will add some of the yellow to help to blend it in the yellow with my green. Pieces of magazine with some words printed on them have been added purely for color and texture. Blending them with the yellow paint, and my fingers do get painty and messy, but you can use a product called Gloves in a Bottle. It goes on like a hand lotion and will put a barrier between your skin and paints and glues and things like that. I don't always remember to put it on, however. They even sell it in drugstores now, in the pharmacy. So, keeping that face clear, I'm moving on to more gesso to push some things into the background more. As I work, things start to make sense and almost come into focus. In my mind, certain things seem to gain importance as I work, and certain things aren't as important anymore and seem to disappear into the background with the gesso. The nice thing about gesso is that it is, well, of course, there's lots of different gessos, and this one is Liquitex, and you can still see through it. It's kind of translucent, depending on how much you put on, so you aren't totally losing all of your color. E6000 is the glue I use to attach the gears. Be sure that you have ventilation. You don't want to be breathing this in. A fan, an open window. Be sure to put some on every surface that you want to be attached. I'm taking care here to put it on the entire background, every little piece. Those little tiny gear teeth tend to stick up if not glued down completely. And in between using the E6000 on my pieces, an important thing is to put the cover on so it doesn't ooze out. It has a tendency to do that. If you've ever used it, you know. But it does hold. It holds really well. I will put a big bottle of Liquitex on top of that gear to hold it down for a half hour or so as I work on the other gears. We will attach these, all of these 6000, and you can see the alcohol ink really adds to the gears. With the gears in place, now it's time to add more texture with a product called Nouveau Embellishment Mousse, but you can use any kind of texture paste for this. This one comes in colors and has mica powder in it, so very shimmery and fun to use. Again, an acrylic product. Mistakes can be rubbed away. Colors can be combined easily. I'm just using a little spatula, adding two colors that mimic the look of a copper and patina. Another use for this is like a paint, so I'm going to just blend some with my finger in different areas as well, adding some of that sea blue color to the background. It's really pretty stuff. And again, because it's acrylic, you can play with it with water, blend it, remove it, and it will dry permanent. More color was needed, so more magazine, torn, colorful little pieces here and there on my collage, glued into place. More fun. And as you can see, certain things are starting to disappear as I layer over them, with new thoughts and ideas about color and composition, and perhaps words that pertain to one's creative brain. Brainstorming is a great tool when thinking of an exhaustive amount of ideas and input for future projects or the future of this project. I'm showing you my creative process, and one of the tools, one of the layers that I enjoy is a type of a vignette set by the color around the edges of my collage. Usually the last step. Here, perhaps I was thinking this would be the end, but it's not. It's a process, the doing and the thinking, the ideas coming from your brain to your work, through your hands, through your eyes, coming through you. These are your processes, your thoughts, your creations. I'm here to be an inspiration. And I hope if you have comments or questions that you'll put them below in the comments section. I would love to know your thoughts, perhaps what you've done in collage and what's worked for you. Questions about anything used in this process. Here I'm using Stays On ink and a texture stamp, pressing parts of the stamp only to get texture and also background. You can see on the left side of the face where the texture definitely looks like it's behind her face. Stays On is permanent, but again, while it's wet, you may be able to wipe some of it away. I got a little on my light bulb, want to take that off so it looks like a light bulb. The light bulb is an important part of this collage right now. The path of the thoughts. The path of the thoughts is going to be represented by some pieces of cheesecloth, which don't stay where I want them until the glue is added, at which point they become pliable and moldable. More Elmer's glue. Working them up toward the light bulb. It was during the process of working with the glue and the fabric that the idea of the thoughts through the mind's gears came to be. So as you're working, ideas will come. Enjoy. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the journey. Notice it's not really moldable until the glue is added. My fingers fight with it until the glue makes it behave. Cheesecloth is very inexpensive. You can find it in the kitchen section. You can find it in the fabric section. I bought some from the fabric section in Hobby Lobby, and days later discovered I had a package in my baking drawer. Isn't it funny how things disappear when we're disorganized? Organization always helps to find things we didn't even realize we had. So there, a path of thoughts. And now I've decided another image is needed. From that same magazine, a woman, cut to fit perfectly in the space provided. Glue underneath and glue on top. And as I glue her down, I realize there's a lot going on. But first, let's add some of that distress crayon before we address the multitude of busyness. The shadows added with the crayon. The depth. Bringing things forward. Pushing things back. Distress crayon is activated by water, like a lot of Tim Holtz products. And now to take care of the busy background, another layer of gesso, which is fairly translucent, the gesso I use, so some of the color still shines through. Things that were important at one time become less important as we focus on the new images and new thoughts that add to our story. I love the shadow under this umbrella that was made with the crayon. And now that I have blocked out the busyness of the background, I can add more shadow, this time using a Stabilo pencil, which is water soluble and very full of black color. Lightly sketching it in, lightly sketching it into the areas where I want to add more shadow. I'm very pleased with the shadow under the umbrella. It excites me, so I want more. I want more to bring out the elements that add to my message through my collage. The message is the creative mind, creative people. It makes me smile. Adding water looks like I'm adding paint, when all it is a wet brush activating the Stabilo pencil. And the shadows can be brought out, blended into the background softly with more water as I wash away from the black into the white. And the artist is becoming aware that this is making her happy. And when you do your collages, you will know when you are happy. It may take more work sometimes than other times. Sometimes collage comes together perfectly with a very few layers. Other times it's a longer journey, as in this case. And perhaps as the onlookers, you have decided that you thought I was done earlier, and that's fine. In my mind, in my thought process, in my creative process, I am now getting to where I'm happy with my collage as I add these shadows. Colors that were important to my story still exist. Colors that drew me away from my story have been pushed to the background through a layer of gesso. The messages I want clear, I wipe away any layers of color over them so they're clearer. Needing a little bit more in my background, I'm adding a tiny Picasso in blacks, whites, and grays to my background, which at this point looks distracting, but I won't allow it. The artist has decided to add the texture of this painting. First a layer of glue on the bottom, glue underneath and on top, and then gesso to push it into the background. Just a little hint of imagination up in the corner. A reminder that Picasso is a creative mind. But we are not Picasso. We are who we are. This is my art, your collages. Your works are your art. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, have fun, and I hope I'll see you in other videos as I add to my channel. Here's another piece of magazine, just scribbles, torn from a page of scribbles and added underneath the arm of Our Lady flyer. Pushed to the background, but still there. The scribbles are important. Over my face, you can see I've put some mesh. I glued that in place, but her face is still very visible and very important. I added a couple of items up in the left and bottom right corners, and I hope you enjoy this process and will return. I'll see you in the next video.